Story time, my dad got my half-brother's girlfriend pregnant. A little background information. This all happened a few years ago. Anyways, my brother was fresh out of high school and he had been dating this girl named Serena for 2 years. And my dad, for some reason, hated her. At least that's what we thought. Well, my brother didn't have a license at the time, so every time that she came over, she needed somebody to drop her off at home. So my dad would always offer to drop her off at home, even though he literally hated her. And he could have just ordered her an Uber, which is what he did with all of my friends. Well, the one night her parents called and they were like, hey, like, is Serena still there? She hasn't came home yet. And my dad said that he was dropping her off. So I called my dad and he said that they ran out of gas on the side of the road. So that was just like one incident. Well, the next morning my mom goes to get in the car for work and she finds a thong in the car. So she brings it in the house and she asks me, hey, is this yours? Meanwhile, I had never seen them before. So then she goes and asks my half-brother and my dad's whose they are, like for part 2. Story time, part 2 about how my dad got my half-brother's girlfriend pregnant. So like I said, my mom found that thong in the car. She came and asked me if it was mine. I said no. So then she asked my dad and my brother whose they were. So she asked my dad first. He said, I don't know whose they are. He said they probably just fell out of Serena's bag. And then she asked my brother. And my brother said, oh, those are Serena's. So after that, my brother came in my room. And he was like, do you think it's weird that the same underwear that Serena was wearing before she left ended up in the car? So I guess she had the underwear on literally before she fucking left the house. Dumb bitch alert. Anyway, so a few weeks later, Serena breaks up with my brother. Well, around the same time, my dad started staying after work really late, like every day of the week. But long story short, my mom went through his phone because she felt like something was going on, and she reads a conversation between my dad and Serena. Like, oh, I'm so sad that you couldn't come to the ultrasound. So then my mom and him divorced, and he's currently raising his child with Serena. Part 2 about story time. My boyfriend found out that his best friend got me pregnant. It was my junior year in high school and my boyfriend and I had been dating for 4 months. Well, the one night him, his friend, and I were all supposed to go to this party. My boyfriend ended up getting called into work that night, so his friend and I went. Which my boyfriend was fine with because he wanted his best friend to keep an eye on me, but he also trusted us. Anyway, so his friend and I ended up going to the party and then but the next morning I woke up, I didn't remember that at all. So fast forward, I find out that I'm pregnant. Well, me forgetting that I totally cheated on my boyfriend, I thought that it was his. Well, a week later, I get a text from his friend. And he's like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? And I'm like, what do you mean, what are we gonna do? So then he filled me in on the whole situation that I didn't remember. But I was like, there's really no chance of this because my boyfriend and I fucked like a million times and me and you fucked once. The real tea is that my boyfriend was black and his friend was white. Well, me being the ass bitch that I am, I was like, well, let's just wait it out. I bet it's not his, like for part 2. Story time, part 2 about how my boyfriend found out that his best friend got me pregnant. So like I said, my boyfriend was black, his best friend was white, and because I doubted that it was his best friend's kid, I decided to wait it out. Say it with me, bad idea. So fast forward, I'm in the delivery room and I decide not to have my boyfriend in there. Well, let's just say good thing that he did. Bitch, whenever this thing popped out, it was white as fucking paper. So I was like to the doctor, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna have a panic attack. Please get the baby out of the room. I don't want anybody around the baby right now. So when my boyfriend came back in the room, I was like, oh, we can't see the baby. He's having some issues. He's over here freaking out. I'm having a fucking panic attack about what I'm gonna do. And they brought my kid back and I was like, that's not my kid. And this girl looked so confused. She was like, oh, okay. And my boyfriend and I are laughing. We're like, oh, haha, that's funny. Then she comes back into the room and she's like, ma'am, this is your kid. So my boyfriend started screaming and he broke up with me after that. Like, how rude to just leave me with a kid by myself. No, I'm just joking. I know that was pretty fucked. Part 2 about how my story time about one of the most embarrassing things that has ever happened to me in high school. So a little background information. I was in my freshman year of high school. Well, spring break was coming up. Well, the whole year my friend and I hadn't been to one single party. So we decided that we wanted to try and go to a party every single day of spring break. Which was about to be super difficult because we had to worry about my strict ass parents and my neighbors. A little background info on my neighbor. My neighbor is this girl who's in my same grade and she literally hates my guts. I don't know why, but literally anything that I do, she'll go and she'll tell her mom and then her mom will tell my mom. Because my mom and her mom are best friends. But before we know it, Saturday comes around. And we go back to school on Monday. We did not make it to one single party. Well, later that night, we found out that one of our friends was throwing one. So around 11 o'clock, everybody's sleeping and I walk out my back door, hop over my fence, and I start heading towards the road where my friend was going to be parked. You know, who do I see fucking sitting outside on their porch reading a fucking book? My fucking neighbor, like for part 2. Story time about part 2 about the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me in high school. So like I said, the bitch that I hate is sitting out on her porch reading a fucking book at 11 o'clock at night. So I crouch down so she couldn't see me. I run to the car and my friend and I finally go to the party. Well, we get to that party and it's really boring, so we decided to go to a different one. And the party that we were about to go through was being thrown by the kid that I really liked. So I start hanging out with him when we get there. I'm drinking a lot, having so much fun, and I really have to go to the bathroom. And I didn't know where anything was at all, so I grabbed my friend and we're looking around everywhere for the bathroom. Because when I asked him, he was super drunk and really couldn't explain to me where the bathroom was. So we were pretty much left to fend for ourselves. But we ended up not being able to find a bathroom, and this is where I had to improvise. So my friend and I go to the laundry room, and we see the litter box in there for the cat. Well, at this point, I was desperate, so I just went in the litter box. Well, 30 minutes later, the cops show up to the party. And everybody had to hurry up and leave because we did not want to get underages. Like for part 3. Part 3 about the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me in high school. So like I said, I went in the litter box and then the cops showed up. We all ran because we didn't want to get underages. I was able to sneak back into my house without anybody knowing. But when I get to school on Monday, everybody's talking about the party. And apparently the kid that I liked who threw the party, his parents didn't know that he threw one at all. And this was like during first period. So I went to text him and ask him if he was grounded because we were supposed to hang out the next day. And I realized that I am blocked. So I'm thinking, what the fuck, why does he have me blocked? So I told my friend that he blocked me, and she goes, it's probably because he saw what you did in the laundry room. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, there's no fucking way that he knows. Because there was a door that led to the outside in the laundry room, there were cameras in there. So everybody saw this video of me. People were posting it on their Finstas, posting it on their Snapchat stories. It was so fucking embarrassing. Not to mention the bitch that I hate who lives next door showed my parents the fucking video and I was grounded for fucking 4 months. Part 3 about the most story time about how I walked in on my fiance and another man. So a little background information. My fiance and I have been together for 4 years. And we started dating our junior year of high school. Well, we all went to Florida after we finally got engaged. And he invited his best friend and I invited my best friend. And I always got vibes that he was like really touchy with his best friend and just like other guys. But I was definitely not one of those people who was about to tell my boyfriend how to act. During Truth or Dare or something, someone would dare him to kiss like a guy and he would just do it. And I didn't really get any off vibes from that because I just did not think that way. So like I said, we all invited our friends to Florida. Well, I think like the third night that we got there, we all decided to go to the club and we were having a super good time. Like everybody was just doing their own thing. I was with my girls. We were hanging out, taking shots. My boyfriend and his best friend, they were doing body shots off of each other. But my boyfriend said that he had drank too much, so his best friend took him back to the hotel room. Y'all will not believe what happened next. Like for part 2. Story time part 2 about how I found my boyfriend and his best friend hooking up. So like I said, my boyfriend's best friend took him back to the hotel room. And I really wanted to spend time with him because we were only supposed to be there for like 3 days. So I decided I would go back to the hotel room early to go see him and make sure that he was okay. Well, I get to the hotel room and all the lights are off. It's very quiet and I think that everybody's sleeping. So I take my shoes off and I go to our room and nobody's in there. So I go to his best friend's room and when I open the door, I see him and his best friend laying on the bed naked, making out. I literally stood there in shock for like 2 minutes and they just like did not hear me, did not look over, did not see me or anything. Eventually, I literally was like, what the fuck? And they both look over and my boyfriend is literally, it's like he saw a fucking ghost. So I leave the room, he gets dressed, he comes over to me and he starts talking to me. Like for part 3. Part 3 about me finding my boyfriend and his best friend hooking up. So like I said, after I catch my boyfriend and his best friend naked together in bed making out, he takes me into the living room to have a talk. And I thought he was just gonna say, oh, I'm drunk, it didn't mean anything. Nope, complete 360, total opposite, not at all what I thought. He was like, listen, like, you know, I've been meaning to tell you this for a while. I just didn't know how to tell you. My parents are super religious. If I ever told them that I was gay, they would never accept me. They would cut me off, everything. And his parents were super fucking rich. So I kind of understood. But I was pissed the fuck off. Like, you wasted so much time in my life just to fucking tell me you were gay. So he was like, we can still have the wedding and everything like that. You know, I understand if you don't want to be with me. So we kind of made a deal that, you know, if I stay with him, I can pretty much have access to all his family's money. I can buy the house that we were going to buy. So currently, while he is hooking up with other men, I have a boyfriend, but we just act like we're together. Part 3. Hi everyone. So today I decided to take one for the team. So you guys probably saw the hack that was going around a while ago, where you exchanged your used Bath & Body Works candles for new ones. So I grabbed one that was filled really low, and then I grabbed 2 other ones that were filled maybe to the middle. And then I put them all in a bag and I went to Bath & Body Works. And I decided to put a few other ones in there just because I couldn't remember certain scents that I wanted to get while I was in there. So then I hopped in my car and went to Bath & Body Works. So I exchanged the candles, and sadly they didn't take the one that was filled lower than the other ones. Go to Bath & Body Works and exchange your old candles for new ones. Hi everyone. Story time about why my mom kicked me out when I was 16. So a little background information. This had all started as soon as my dad left my mom and I. I was like 13 around the time. Well, ever since then, my mom would have different guys in and out of the house all the time. Like, we were lucky if a month went by and she was still with the same dude. Which, I mean, I kinda get it because my dad did leave us for a woman that he had started another family with. But at the same time, it was just a whole mess. Anyway, so she had got with this new guy, and we're gonna call him Tyler. And by the way, the dudes that she would date, they would literally live at our house. Anyway, so a week after he moved in, I started getting really close to him, which usually never happens. Usually I would try to keep my distance because I knew how wrong it was of her having all these different guys in the house when I'm only 16. Anyways, every time that my mom would go to work, he would invite me to go see a movie, and he would just be really flirty with me. And he was only 6 years older than me, and my mom was 32. You do the math. Anyways, like for part 2. Story time about why my mom kicked me out when I was 16. So like I said, the guy was being super flirty with me, inviting me to the movies when my mom wasn't home and all that stuff. Well, then it led to more than just that. By the way, this guy did not have a job, so he was home with me 24/7. And I was doing online school. So we were in the house by ourselves, 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. Anyways, like I said, it led to more, and we started doing the nasty and stuff. Ew, just, yeah. Well, the one day after we got done doing the nasty in my mom's room, we had fell asleep. And yes, we did not have clothes on. Well, at 2 in the morning, I hear someone pounding on the bedroom door, and my mom worked night shifts. So we get up, he hurries up and gets dressed and tells me to hide under the bed. And he opens the door, and it's my mom's sister. My sister literally lived in the apartment next door. And she was like, oh yeah, neither of you were answering the phone, so she wanted me to check on you guys. Like, where's Elena? And I'm still under the bed naked, like for part 3. Part 3 about why my mom kicked me out when I was 16. So like I said, I'm laying under the bed, no clothes on. She asks where I am. And he's like, oh, she should be in her room. So he goes looking for me everywhere with her. And he's like, oh, well, maybe she's outside on the patio. And I don't know why the hell my mom's sister had a key to our apartment anyways. But she's still looking for me in the apartment, and she looks under the fucking bed. And at first she's like, oh my god, what did he do to you? And I'm trying to tell her nothing, like I made that decision on my own. So she calls my mom right away. My mom comes home. She's screaming at me, and she kicks me out. So I go to my grandma's house, and I told my grandma what happened. And my grandma calls her, and she's like, it's not her fault that you gave her daddy issues. And I'm like, bruh, what the fuck? Child, anyways. So then she goes on Facebook and starts posting about how I'm a whore and a slut, and how, like, it isn't her boyfriend's fault at all. So now I live part 3 about why my mom kicked me out.